Another the same subject, that's the MMPH 001, Organizational Theory and Design. So today to discuss about your last block. This is block number 5. Block number 5 I have to start. This is your where the internal dynamics. Internal dynamics, there are two units, the unit number 10 and unit number 11. The role of organizational culture in design, this is your unit number 10. And unit number 11 is your organizational conflict. So both the units are very important to one the cultural aspect, and another is your the conflict. There are both two things are we have to discuss. Culturally, you have to see the organizational, what are the things are there, and what are the factors in cultures influencing the cultures and your conflict also. So first, see the description of the unit number 10. That is your role of organizational culture in design, the concept of the organizational structure. Then you have to see some of the cases also. Then uniformity in the organizational culture, transition of organizational culture, then design and culture, situational factor facilitating the cultural changes. What are the different situations you have to see? And which situation they are working. And unit number 11, that is your organizational conflict, you have to see. That is defining the conflict, what are the definition of the conflict, intergroup conflict, that part you have to discuss. And the resolution, as well as you have to see the resolution of the techniques. What are the techniques are there? That part you have to see. Now, let's see the role of the organizational culture in design. So, organizational culture is a set of shared assumptions, values, beliefs, and practices that help the employees understand their organizations and learn the acceptable way to behave. So, ultimately, culture is nothing socially, whatever your behavioral pattern, what is acceptable or not, that is socially acceptable or not, and that as per the norms you have to understand the things. That is the cultural rules. Organizational culture, therefore, provides the employees with an identity and generates a commitment in them to believe in the values that are larger than themselves. So this is the basic the role of the organizational culture rules. Then you have to see some integrations. There are two major functions in the culture. There is our internal integrations and the external adaptations. So internal integrations, where the organizational culture is the conduit through which the employees identify with their organizations. So culture is just like here actually showing is just like a conduit flow of totally this connected with all the sections, all the departments. So it is guided day-to-day working relationships, communication channels, and your acceptable behavioral patterns, and the power allocations. Culture can also help employees take contextual decisions in the absence of written rules or policies. Sometimes it may be not exactly the written in the or in the policies, but even though by virtue of the during the process, now what it will help the employees. So, an external adaptation is other way we can say, that is your culture helps the organization meet its goal and guides dealing with the external stockholders. It can help the organizations respond to the customer needs or competition or competitor strategies. Because external adaptation in this case, what we need to say, that is basically the outsider customers, supplier, vendors, and the stockholders. They are what the way they are think about the company and what the way you are dealing with this. So that is the external part. Now, some of the values, because you know that some of the business ideas. And, could not only earn the profit, but also uplift the social society in the long run. Any business not only earn the profit, you have to socially you have to see it is responsible for the company to develop the nearby the cultures, nearby the humans and the society. They should also uplift from poor to richer or illiterate to literate. So this should be behind that some of the work should play the roles. Every product of the body shop had a unique story, and that it was firmly interwoven in the organization's core values. The five core values at the body shop the one company that it include activating the self-esteem, protecting our planet because the environmental, in this case pollution, whatever it is, then against the animal testing, that is also one of the area, supporting the community trade, and finally defending the human rights. So this is a aspect of four areas where they have activity. Case culture values of the workshop is that finally it has coming that active self-esteem. That is the one thing. Number two, the protect our planet against animal testing, community, and trade defending, and human rights. These five areas are listed out. Now we have to see the uniformity in the organizational culture because culture should be in a uniform manner that it should be spread throughout the organizations in a uniform way. So a dominant culture embodies the core values of the organization. When a specific set of functional specialists such as accountants, engineers, human resource professionals have a common set of uh, perceptions, the horizontal subculture is formed. Now we have to talk about the transmission of organizational culture. Organizational members learn the pivotal values from their socialization practices because socialization is such a thing. They are the actual the values are coming which are not in written but by the practice we can adaptation, culture adaptations, behavior pattern, everything are to be formed. So practices, stories, then the rights and the rituals and the languages. There are all are the media. These mechanisms are detailed here. Now some of the mechanisms we can discuss now. First thing is the ceremonies, the rites and the ceremonies or passage. These facilities the transmission of the people into new roles. Example including induction and the training program where the people are inducted and they have a specific idea, they are learned the things. And it is some sort of facilitating the things or the transmission of the people from one role to other. Right of integrations. This create a common bond among the employees and the secures their commitment to the organizations. Office parties, get-togethers, and other formation, the informal gatherings can be taken as an example for the integrations. So where suppose birthday party or something, any functions, cultural programs, there people are together and they have some specific roles. Everybody have it. Some people are creating, some people are playing, similar. Everybody are in different activities are involved. Lot of events are going on. So people are slowly they are accustomed to all these things. So this is one of the way for the transmission of the cultural transmissions. Then another enhancement, the right of the enhancement. These facilities, the motivation of the employees to commit themselves to organizational values. Example can be presentation in award ceremonies to perform the employees. Because these are some enhancement, but this just like the motivations, you have to give some award or some of the for what they have done, what they have achieved. You are giving this thing because basically it is a value. You are the value system will be increased. Now in the part of your transmission of the organizational culture, second thing is the stories and what are the methodologies and other our is given, is written in the big book. Stories and the narratives based on the true events that are frequently shared among the employees and told to new employees to inform them about the organizations. Suppose historically the company has achieved something, some milestone they have achieved the company, or some course of any award they have received, or any project they have completed in time, any things, any good things that has to be shared to the employees also, and it should be told by the uh, old present existing employees to the newcomers, so that have a idea. And what are the culture also? The same thing. The culture is also to be transformed. The transmission part is there. Now, symbols is one of the important things. Affects, it will give a effect something. Another transmission mechanism is your organizational culture is symbol. Ceremonies, rites, rituals are also considering it just like the symbols. Because, for example, the Deepavali, Diwali, and your some Dashera, or any any countries or any rituals, Christmas Day, 1st January. So, what are the things are there? It is some sort of what are the ceremonies are there? It is a symbolic. It's really symbolic. Based on these, you have to learn something. What are the value of particular? You can go in deeper. So they represent the deeper values of the organizations. So in organizations also they have some of the different type of history, particularly this company, how it has established, who has established, what is the background of these, from where they have ideas developed, the product, everything. So symbol is one of the important things, important in the part of the transmission. Language, another important aspect, that is your mechanism is the language. The language remains an essential element of the organizational culture, as it is happens to be happen to the primary mode of communications. So it is we are considering is a primary the mode of communications. So very easily, very quickly, you can transmission part can be done through these languages. Socializations. Socializations shapes the process by which the members learn and internalize, inter, internalize the values and the norms of organizations. So these values shape the role of the orientation that an employee adopts. So two main things. All the points are important. All the mechanisms are really required for this transmission of the organizational culture process. But however, if you prioritize the things, all these points, mechanism points, where the language and socialization is the major points, very fast and very quickly, the transmission part can be achieved. Then part of the design and culture. Now, organizational design and culture, we have to see where the organization's culture should reinforce the strategy and structure, design, whatever it is, the organizations adopt the remain effective in their environment. So there are four categories of culture identified based on the environment requirements and the organizations. So what are the things? Number one is the adaptability culture. This culture requires the organizations to be flexible, adapt to rapid changes in the environment while keeping its strategic focus as external. So it's a very challenging the things. The adaptation procedure, policies or adaptation process, how fast it is doing and how accurately people are adapting the things. That is the point to be considered. So rapid changes, because of the rapid changes in the environment, it is now needed. They are necessary for adaptability culture as early as possible to be adapted. Then only the transmission process, the culture transmission process, can be achieved smoothly. Now the mission of the culture. In this culture, the organization's strategy focus on the external, but its environmental requirement is stability. In a mission culture, employees retain clarity about the organization's vision and the mission. and ensure profitability and growth in synchronized way. Managers shape behavior by communicating a desired future state of the organization. So here, the main thing should have a clear-cut mission should be there. Exactly the clarity should be there. What is the mission? And you have to ensure the profitability of the growth of these things. That is also have to ensure that things. Now the 10 cultures. 10 cultures represents a family like organizations. You have to feel that my organization is just like a family, where you have to take care of things, all the nursing the peoples, just like in the home front, we have taking care of our children. Same thing has to be followed. So in this culture, the focus on the organization internal, that is in its employees, while its environmental requirement is flexibility. Organizations that behave as a clear focus on um, meeting the employees' requirement and the needs to instill a sense of ownership and the commitment for the organization goals. Because they should have a feeling is the ownership they have to feel, the belonging. Then some esteem power will be achieved. So first things, the employee should be ownership is very much required. Then only they can easily adopt the things when they are feeling in their mind, it's my company. That sense has to be developed. In this culture, important value is the nurturing. Nurturing the employees is very important. Until and unless you are nurturing the employees, then or helping to the other them to grow along with them, then only it will be easy to adapt the things. They can very fast in this process. They can participate in very fast. Organization design the culture. There are bureaucratic culture is also there. The last of the topologies, this culture takes example from the owner organizations where the focus is internal and within a consistency orientations from a stable environment. Cultural values highlight on consistency, collaboration, and conformity. So this is the uh, main thing. These organizations believe in hierarchy and compliance and provide the stable levels of output while the environment is certain. So then only you can be proceed. While public sector units provide the example of your bureaucratic cultures, cat foods, international, is the private sector retains features of this culture. So its focus on the centralized decisions making and the rule orientation lead to a culture environment mismatch later. Because you see, in the bureaucratic system, as we have seen in the earlier also, there are so many hierarchies. Maybe the accuracy will be there, but a lot of procedures and checkpoints are here. So that is one of the example as a public sector units are especially there through this way this culture is there, the bureaucratic culture. Now the situational factors. Now we have to see the some of the situational factors the facilitating the your cultural changes. Robbins and the Matthew 2008 identified the following situational factors that might lead to a culture change. Number one, there is a dramatic crisis. A dramatic crisis is a perceived shock that many determine the status quo in organizations. It calls into questions the prevailing values, norms, and the work processes, and allows a dialogue for the different set of values to take care of the process of the crisis. Examples of the dramatic components. Now, leadership turnover. Now, the leadership turnover is saying the leadership in any organization plays a vital role in the shape of the organizational culture. Hence, a change in leadership may facilitate the impositions of a new values. It has been happened if you change a new CEO or a new leadership. Sometimes it is happened that changes can give a good turnovers. So, but new leaders need to have a alternative vision of the organization's future for the employees to share the change in cultural values. Because when the new leader will come, definitely he should have a different visions, some alternative visions, so that it can be geared up. The employees can be uh, some- getting some of the power. They have to encourage more and to share the change in the cultural process. So leaders, through their visions, often uh, perpetuate a dramatic change in culture, as can be analyzed. So it has happened and it has done also most of them worldwide. That's why the leadership skills are very much important, and it is required also for your organization in the cultural changes process. Life cycle stages. That is one thing. Another issues. Organizational life cycle can be divided roughly in a three phases. There is some of the area they are considering as a four, but altogether it is a three phases. The basic three phases are growth. So one is the growth, and is your maturity and decline. Initial stage phases also there, where there is the formations and the baby stage or child stage. So that is not very important in the cultural point of view, because the phases, the growth phase is very important. Then maturity and the decline. There are three phases are really the main stages, we can say. So maximum change in organization culture happens in the growth phase. So cultural changes are very much in the growth phase. When the experimentation happens in products, services, and work processes. Similarly, decline presents an opportunity for the cultural change as it requires business process, crisis management, then retrenchment, etc. Another thing is your age of the organizations. That is also very important. What is the age of the organizations? So cultural change is likely to happen in a younger generations, in younger organizations, and such change is normally accepted within the span of 5 years of an organization's existence. So when it is start, they exist in the market, and then it will take some 5 years. Then slowly they can, during that period, they have accepted most of the cultural or other changes. Now another aspect is your size of the organizations. Whether we are talking about the things, the size of the organizations. In modest size organizations, that is your cultural change is relatively easier due to clear channels of the communications and visible transfer mechanisms. It is also easier for the management to reach employees to disseminate any change in cultural values. Now, we have to see the strength of the current culture. Strength of the current culture. The weaker and the dysfunctional cultures are more amenable to change than the stronger ones. The strong culture establishes and the organization's identity and the perceptions in the minds of the stockholders, and hence change becomes difficult. If it is the mind, the perception is there in the mind, so that it is a very difficult to change the mind state. So absence of subcultures, because it is just like a fabric, there's fibers, but I mean, which are very required to protect the main cultures. So subcultures create a diversity within the dominant cultural fabric of an organization. As subcultures derive identity from the dominant culture, they resist any changes therein. So hence the presence of subcultures may preclude the possibilities of culture change in organizations because it is so strong and so unique, and very difficult to penetrate the things. So it is automatically it will resist the changes when it is happening. Now, can cultures collide? That's one of the questions. Can cultures collide? Yes, because as cultures result in the creating the organizational identities, they also create an image of the company for both internal and external stockholders. These unique organizational identities may collide in case of the mergers and acquisitions. Uh, So, that is actually according to Mercer report, or the report is there, it has clearly in the report says nearly 30% of such transactions fail to meet financial targets due to cultural issues. So this is one of the major things the report has highlighted. Organizational leaders can minimize such cultural coalitions by conducting a bicultural audit. So bicultural audit is required to nullify the things so that to minimize the that coalitions, cultural coalitions. When both the things are coming and mixing, during the mixing culturally, it has happened. So that's why the during the merger and acquisitions, when the two identities, there are two different cultures are merging. So that time it is chances of coalitions are there. So that's why the some bicultural audit is required to be conducted. The audit involves identifying the strategies that can best provide a bridge between these different cultures and come together in merger and acquisitions. The major strategies of the bicultural audit are assimilations. The first strategy, assimilations, occurs when the employees of the acquired company will embrace the culture of the acquiring company. So, acquired company and acquiring company. There are two things. Merger, basically, merger and acquisition. There are two things. One company or other company are merging. Means one is the acquired company, one is the acquiring company. So where the culture, both the culture are jointly embracing, so that time it is very much the assimilation occurs. So another thing, your deculturations. Deculturations means assimilations can be an ideal strategy, but often not feasible, as employees often resist cultural change. Sometimes it may not be happen because the changing isn't as so strong. So as a strategy, deculturalizations is difficult as employees actively resist cultural institutions, intrusions. Now integrations. Third strategy to merge the different cultures is integrations. In this, the best features of the existing cultures are retained and are molded into a new entity. This strategy works best when the employees realize the existing cultures are ineffective. So, during the integration times, so we have to propagate or we have to provoke some of the advocate the workers that that culture is not good, it is not suitable for us, so it is totally ineffective. So we have to go for the uh, better one. So that type of an integration is very much required within the existing cultures. to retain the things or mold it in a new entity. Separations. Separations is one of the another cultural collapse. That is, the separation strategy occurs when a merger and acquisitions, the transaction companies agree to remain separate with a minimum exchange of culture or organizational practices. Suppose there are two companies merged and acquisition part is over. Now their product is different. Even though they are merged, their product range is different. Then only it is possible. And they are culturally are individual. There is no interdependency. So companies can be retained, and there no unrelated industries, basically unrelated industries, or even the different countries, or maybe in the different countries, their agreement, some sort of uh, your uh, your merger and acquisition process is done, but they are situated in different countries. Then that case, this is one of the uh, cases are like this. So that strategy occurs basically separation strategy. Now another thing, your understanding the organizational conflict. Now we have to talking about the conflict because the is a very vast area. So conflict can be defined in different ways. Conflict can be defined as a process that one party perceives that another party has negatively affected or is about to negatively affect sometimes some things that the first party cares about. So this is one way you can define the conflict. Other the Duke in 1999, he observed the conflicts could arise between the individuals or the groups in an organizations. If the goals are not specified or when the management shift blame on all or on units involved in work process. So uh, then only when the individual and groups conflict can be individual to individual, conflict can be individual to groups, conflict can be possible to group, conflict can be the employees and the management. So everywhere the conflict will be there in any stages. Conflict can also arise between the management and the union or the franchisees, owners and the headquarters. In global organizations, conflict can happen between the regional managers or different divisions, or between the division to division, or maybe the headquarters to headquarters, owing to the complexity and the international business. So conflict will be there. Now we have to see the conflict is good or bad. Means there is a sense. Normally, apparently, we assume we are in our mind, traditionally, it has been the conflict means negative. It's not a good thing. But from the business point of view, sometimes conflict is also giving us a lot of positivity, a lot of positive alternatives can come, a lot of ideas can come from the conflict. The two predominant views of the conflict are the traditional and the uh, interactionist views. Traditional views, what is this? That the conflict is negative, as I just now explained, uh, uh, just about to say, the conflict is negative and assumes that all forms of conflict are bad, detrimental to organizational effectiveness. So it will always create a problem. This approach treats conflict into violence and the distractions. Now coming to another aspect is another viewpoint, that is your interactionist. Interactionist view, it takes more rational approach to organizational conflict. And organizations without any overt conflict can fall into the danger of apathy and become the non-responsive to change. So this is the different perspectives on the conflict and the different viewpoints. Now, original source, now the source of conflict. Why the conflict is coming up? Where the initiations, where the conflict has initiations or influence the things that we have to see. What is the goal incompatibility? Incompatibility. Goal incompatibility means the goals of the different departments or verticals. And it's not in a holistic manner. When the verticals reflect the specific objects that members are trying to achieve. Conflict arises when members in different departments perceive their respective goals to the mutual expressions. Another source of conflict is that the limited resources, because the resources such as time, the equipment, human resources, your finance are often limited in any organizations. Competitions among the departments, sometimes the employees, and the scarcity of the resources, raw materials is not there, maybe the inventory is the problems. So it becomes a frequent cause of conflict. So there are so many other reasons also there. So some of the limited resources sometimes create a very big issues. Trust interdependence, because some of the activities are dependent on the others, so it is a create a problem. Tax interdependence refer to dependence on the one or another for materials, resources, or the informations. So all these are creating your conflict. As interdependence increases, the potential of the conflict also increases. So if your problems are increases interdependency, then your potential conflict is also increases. Now, one-way task dependence. If the prospects of the conflict increase immensely when one unit is literally dependent on another, then also it is a conflict will start. Communication distortions. So it is one of the very important things. Communications are vital point for the conflict because understanding, miscommunications, or some distortions has happened between, so that create a problem. So if frequently cited the source of conflict is communication difficulties. These difficulties are often found in the vertical top-down communications, but horizontal communication is not without any share of the difficulties. So in this communication is not transparent, then different departments will know less about the work of their counterparts. So if the communication is not transparent, means there is no easy going, then it will create a problem because other department they don't know what is going on the others. So another high horizontal differentiations, because the differentiations means the distance, or I can say the some defining the things. The greater the difference between units, the greater is the likelihood of the conflict. Because if the difference is more, gap is more, so conflict is also more. So if the units, verticals in an organizations are highly differentiated, the tasks that they do and their macro environments will be very dissimilar. Status in congruence. The conflict is all often stimulated by the ignoring the perceptions of the different governments and units of not being given the requisite status in the organization structure. So this is also another of the conflict, source of conflict. Now, heterogeneity of the members. In the age of diversity, if heterogeneity is in teams, the departments and the organizations is encouraged. Base of diversity are many. There's age, gender, your nationality, race, then ethnicity, education, professions. But in the initial stages of his team, this heterogeneity or diversity has been identified as the source of many intergroup conflicts. Now, another thing I would like to see, that is the role of dissatisfaction. This is a major issues for the conflict. Closely associated with status, incongruence, in role dissatisfactions. This occurs when the individuals do not get the desired roles that wish to perform in an organization. As per their wish, they what they want, as per their desire, things are not moving, or as per their desires, they have not get the jobs, so dissatisfaction will come, and because of that, the conflict will start. Defective formalizations. So formulations or during the formulating the process, if some defect is there, then again it's there. As explained in the earlier in this talks we have discussed earlier also, it includes the rules and the regulations necessary for the standardizing the behavioral patterns of the individuals in the organizations is very much needed. System of decision making, because sometimes the maybe some of the argument or agreeable, it is not agreeable sometimes because there is no method, there is no systems, how it has derived mentally, or you are not prepared to accept it because there is no logic behind it. So that type of decision making will create a problem. In any organizations, the system of the decision making is extremely important. Hence, this system needs to be streamlined, and the employees who are authorized to take decisions on administrative, financial, and resource related issues should be identified and clearly informed to all units, departments, and the teams. This will help avoid the confusion and the details. So, this is one of the remedy saying, and this is because of this sometimes the conflict will arise. Conflict resolution techniques. Now, conflict resolution techniques are necessary to reduce, minimize its negative influences, and your conflict resolution techniques are necessary to reduce, minimize the negative influences. Robbins and the Matthew in 2008 highlight the following conflict resolution techniques. Some techniques they are highlighted. Superordinate superordinate goals. Superordinate goals are goals that can be achieved only when conflicting groups come together and strive to achieve a common objective, being the SSMs. Reduce interdependence between the units, the mutual interdependence, and one way your interdependence between the vertical units create a potential for the intergroup conflict. Coordination positions help reduce the chances of such conflict acting as mediators between the conflicting departments. Here we are talking about the solutions. So first solution we have seen, that is the superordinate goal, and after that they reduce the interdependence. If we reduce the interdependence, then it will be creation of the conflict will be reduced. Then another thing is expanding the resources. That is one of the techniques. The organizational conflicts often occur over the scarcity of the resources. So easiest and often the ideal manner to resolve such conflicts is possible expansion of the resources. This expansion as conflict resolutions techniques is extremely successful as it satisfies and solves. Another is mutual problem solving. One of the more practical approaches, there is a more practical way to resolving the conflict, is mutual problem solving. Sit together, counseling or having meeting, discuss with the things, This technique requires conflicting groups to come face to face to assume the responsibility for the resolutions and can work. Problem solving attempts to focus on the positives by highlighting the commonly layered views of all parties. So all the parties should sit together, face-to-face discussion will be there. What are the points they can put it there across the table and highlight the things and they can sort it out. The things. So that is one of the mechanism techniques. Appeal systems. Formal channels or the deviance can also be redress the conflict. A proper and the formal appeals system is an appeal systems in an organizations would act as a sound conflict resolution technique. There should be some notice board or some of the box or maybe so that they can give their proposal or they can appeal the things. They have to appeal their problems in properly in a formative way. Organizations your wide evaluations criteria and the reverse. Maximum conflicts in organizations arise out of the differing the perceptions of the reward systems. So if you put together a group of people and ask them an opinion about the reward systems, then the diversity of the views will be immense. So better you have to take a view of all. And finally, you have to prepare so that the diversity problems, the conflict will be due to viewpoints can be reduced. Conflict simulation techniques, the very high or low levels of the conflict can be dysfunctional and created your resistance to changes. Constructive conflict is increasing the productivity of employees by allowing them to think differently. So there are so many stimulation processes are there. Formal and the informal communication is also important because the communication distortions can create a conflict sometimes. That we have seen earlier also. There communication is one of the important point, the distortion is. So ambiguous messages, hard-heartedly messages without any information in the message, they're running through the formal channels or the your company's informal grievance in the maybe in the lunch table or maybe in the tea table, that type of gossip, informal things or informations are going on. So can create a confusions and lead to the conflict. There are some of the within the channel, formal channel, there are a lot of messages are is running. Plus in the informal way, lot of discussions going on. That information is also clubbed. So all these things are happening. It is ultimately lead to conflict. So hence the communication manipulations to stimulate the conflict needs to be very carefully. That treatment is very much needed. Historicity of the diversity and the diversity is the important component for the stimulating the conflict. Diversity does not mean the hiring the people on. You have to encourage them. Have to fundamentally you have to explain the what are the things are good. To fuel them the creativity and the innovative the ideas can be things so that they can feel some. Most of the cases, employees often feel they are threatened to the provide their ideas due to fear of conflict. So that to be reduced. Competitions. Management can stimulate conflict by fostering the competition between the units, both units. So employees and units like some compare with the best employees unit and some sort of introduction of the productivity link bonus schemes. So that type of competitions can be there. Then you can create some of the environment where the conflict is reduced. So award systems, some competitions, some incentives, some bonus, some prestigious awards, or create some sort of your some value point. So competition is one of these solutions. Management can stimulate conflict by fostering the competitions between the units, as I just now showed. Now, this is the way. Now here actually I'm just to say the I can review and recap the things. There are total 5 blocks of that in this organizational theory and the design, that MMPH-GG1. This is specialized paper for the third year, third semester MBA courses. So block one, actually we have discussed the outstanding the organizations. First we have to discuss about the first we do there the meaning of the and characteristics of the organization that we have discussed, and the important, they are actually important things to be highlighted and highlighting the some of the important things from the unit one. First of all, you have to understand that the concept has to be clear. Then approach of the organizations, that how what are type of approaches are there that you have to try to recall the what are the approaches, list out the approaches for the things. Then the Mackey 7S model, that is McKinsey 7S models, are definitely have to learn these things. Whether the models are shared, these things, strategy, your whatever the staff and structure, everything. There are 7S model have to be aware. The unique thing is the model is if all the thing models are interconnected. So there is no one. There are all are interconnected. That is a feature things you have to write a diagram and write every model's solution you have to do. So that is the from the unit one. That is very important. Now unit two, I come to that some framework where you see the classical era and your some of the non-classical approaches is important and modern things. From here, the historical perspectives, okay, you can go through this little bit, we read out the things. But important things are modern things. Which are the modern things you are saying in ancestral that you will find. So that is important. Third unit is important, your effectiveness. What are the effectiveness of the organizations and how to make the organizations more effective. So some case studies are also there that have to do it in the branch wise. So that is the block one. I just try to revise and give you some of the important, what are the important units. Now block two and the unit number 4, that is the fundamentals of the your organization structure. So here the structure again you have to see the your main thing, your organizational design, because any structure some design parameters is there. So what are the parameters of the design and what are the process? And main thing you have to focus on the new possibilities of the organizations, restructuring strategies when the things are competitive, global competitions. So what should be the restructuring strategy should be there? So unit 4, the 2-3 units are there, which I have just is important. Unit 5 is the factors affecting the organizational structures. So in unit 5, where it is saying the factors, because during the preparation of the structuring the company, some factor it will affect. That you have to list out what are the factors, and then how to reduce. There are key factors affecting the organizations that have to list it out, and try to see how best you can give improve your effectiveness of the organizations. So this is the 2-3 aspects are very important. You need a unit, so you have to go through this. Now, block number 3, actually we have to try again the organizational design. Topological structure, different so many structures are there. It maybe hybrid. Hybrid is one of the important. It is horizontal, it is vertical, or prototype type, matrix organizations. So lot of things are there, different way, and it is case to case basis. What type of product the company is producing. So here actually the matrix organizations and your inverted pyramid, your organic structures are important. Hybrid structure is also important. Contemporary organizational design, again there are some of the issues of the concept, issues that emerge. What are the issues? Emerging systems are going on. That part you have to go through this. What are the challenges are there? The challenges also you have to finish. So this is the way I think we can cover up the sessions. Leslie, thank you very much, and your now the session is now closed. Okay. Thank you very much. Namaste. Thank you. डाउन डाउन कर क्या करते हैं